So ever since the release of the last bluelock chapter, a lot of people have actually not been happy with the result of the current salaries and rankings of bluelock. So today I'm here to talk about that. Did Itoshi Rin scam Isagi? Did Isagi deserve to be number one? We're going to talk about all that in this video. So if you guys like this type of content, please remember to hit that like and subscribe button. I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year and trying to hit 6,000 subscribers by the end of this month. So if you guys could please subscribe, it helps me out a lot. Without further ado, let's get right into this video. Don't forget not to hit that post notification bell to get notified whenever I post. So as we found out in the last chapter of bluelock, Isagi actually isn't number one yet. Technically, yes, he is in the number one spot in terms of salary, but are you really number one if you're tied with someone? I've seen a lot of people talk about this, a lot of discourse about this, and people are basically saying that Isagi shouldn't treat this like a win. For the egoist Isagi is to be celebrating to the fact that him and Rin are tied and he's not above everyone like he said he would be or how he said he wanted to. It just feels a lot like Kaneshiro didn't want to pick between Isagi and Rin on who's better. Now, listen, my standpoint on this is that I really would like to see Isagi number one after his arc. Considering how much we've seen him go through in this entire arc, the man shine game, the insane performance there. We carry over to the Ubers game where he also had an insane performance, and now the PXG game where he sacrificed everything to get this position, and he's still, like, listen, he gets it. He's technically number one, but he's tied. So in my opinion, I feel like him being tied for number one and not actually being number one demines the fact of the whole arc of Isagi surpassing all of his current bluelock rivals and becoming number one in bluelock solidified. But normally, I think that Kaneshiro just really didn't want to give just the spotlight in the bluelock 11 to Isagi when he could give it to Rin and Isagi. Now, this is what I'm talking about. Listen, in the NEL arc, if Isagi was just ranked number one, like he scored in the U20 game, he scored the last goal, he would have been recognized as bluelock's hero, bluelock's star player. And I feel like Kaneshiro thought that this turn of events would really kind of make all the future rivals and players that we're going to meet completely focus on Isagi and nobody else on the bluelock squad. But now that they're tied, Kaneshiro can also focus on Rin and Isagi at the same time. So I feel like just because they're number one together, Kaneshiro can put that equal focus on both of them. Whereas if Isagi was just number one, most of the other team's best players and best defenders, best midfielders would be talking shit to Isagi and directly be rivals with Isagi, if you get what I mean. But on the other hand, though, we actually haven't seen Rin's entire performances for his games. I know we've seen the Ubers game, well, at least the end of it, where he scores an amazing curving shot. We've seen the end of the man shine game where he scored a hat trick. We see the Barca game a little bit. But in my opinion, I feel like the fact that we didn't see the whole game for these, it shouldn't justify us going through hundreds of chapters of Isagi struggling, evolving, developing, just to be number one, only to not be number one. I feel like if Kaneshiro really wanted to go this route, I feel like at this point, just put Rin above Isagi or have PSG win the game. I feel like if PSG won the game, this would be a lot more reasonable of an outcome. Like, okay, you know what? Fine. They're tied. Isagi played amazing, still lost, but everyone could recognize how good he is, so that's why he's tied with Rin. But now that Bastard Munchen won and Isagi scored the last goal, I feel like the salary doesn't really match up. Now, a lot of people like to bring up the point that Rin was already way higher than Isagi in the salary rankings. Like, Isagi was like number two, while Rin was like number one by a mile. So this game, he needs to put it up a lot, and he did, but Rin also put it up, like, you know, because he also scored a super goal and shit. I get that. I get that logic of thinking, but to me, that whole super goal and value nonsense never made sense to me. Because if you guys remember, Nagi went up 88 million for scoring one super goal. You have to remember that. He went straight to 0 to 88 million with one super goal. Then we know Baro had a salary of 100 million. Then after he scores his gamble shot super goal, it only goes up by a little bit. If I remember, it only went up to like 130 or 150, which I think it kind of just undermines a lot of the salary system, the way we look at it on paper. Like, oh, a super goal is worth this much, a goal is worth this much. I don't think that's how it works. I think these numbers are kind of just random. I know this is a big claim to make, but I think Kaneshiro is just giving these salaries whatever he wants. Like, it's not really dependent on what the player does in the game, because if it was, and I feel like a lot of these salaries would look very different. Like, why is Baro at like a 150 when he should clearly be at like a 200? He was at 100 2 games in, and since then he scored a brace like twice. So how the hell is he not even at 200 million? I don't know. It's very confusing. Another thing I'd like to look at is the performance of the PXG game and Bastard Munchkin game itself. Now, a lot of people bring up that Rin was quite literally unstoppable by Isagi by himself in the Bastard Munchkin game. So Isagi, like, he wasn't able to beat Rin by himself. He needed Kaiser's help, which kind of makes sense. Okay, you know what I mean? It makes sense, but we have to remember, Isagi was using Kaiser the entire time. I think if you're a coach or a team evaluating a certain player, you evaluate him on his like ability to link up. Like, remember, the whole world doesn't think like bluelock. The whole world inside bluelock, the whole coaches, the whole systems and shit, they aren't thinking in the same ideology as bluelock. Oh, you have to get the goal yourself, this, that, this, that. Even though Isagi did get the goal himself at the end of the day. At the end of the day, Isagi did get that goal by himself. So what matters? What type of means he used to get there? Yeah, he was able to stop Rin with the help of someone, but he was just using him. I feel like that speaks more to his egoism than anything. And let's not forget that Rin actually could have scored 2 goals in the time that he scored his first. Because if we remember, Rin quite literally stopped and said, you know what, never mind, I'm not scoring this. I want an even crazier goal. Goes back out, does it again, and scores. What coach is going to look at that, or team is going to look at that and be like, you know what? This guy might be absolutely different. Like, you're telling me that didn't take any hit on his salary at all? Like, not at all? Like, you're telling me Rin could just do whatever the fuck he wants on the field, and like the coaches in the blue lock are going to be like, oh shit, you know what? This guy's a fucking amazing talent. Give him the same salary as Isagi. I don't think so. I feel like a team player like Isagi, who seems like a team player, but in reality, he's just using his teammates to get himself where he wants to be, is much more appealing to the coach's eye than a player like Rin, who solos the entire team, says, oh, that wasn't good enough, goes back out, wastes a goal scoring opportunity, tries doing some crazy shit again, still scores, but what did that result in? It resulted in Rin losing the game. So I feel like bluelock does not judge these salaries appropriately. I feel like we haven't been judging this shit appropriately, and I'm very, very willing to see what Kaiser's salary is going to be, since he did score the Magnets and he did play pretty well this game too. Now, do I think Rin scammed Isagi? Do I think that Isagi was deserving of the #1 spot? In my opinion, yes and no. I already said it earlier in the video. If I was going to do it this way, I would have PXG win. Having them lose and Isagi score a brace and still not being #1 after all that foreshadowing and buildup you did before the game, during the game, of Isagi's desire and characterization that he wants to be #1 now, it's kind of just wasted, I think, in my opinion. Because he is technically #1, but it's like a fake #1. You know what I mean? Like, he's not, like, you're not truly #1 if you're sharing the spot with someone. You know what I mean? You can't be #1 if you're sharing the spot with somebody else. Imagine if someone in real life won the Ballon d'Or, but the other person comes in, he's like, you know what? This is our Ballon d'Or. I won it too. The people couldn't decide, so they gave us both the Ballon d'Or. That makes no sense. Whoever wins the Ballon d'Or in real life, whoever wins the MVP in real life, they're the best player or most valuable player in the world, in the league. That's literally how it is. So I feel like it's a big waste to have plot Toshi Rin lose the game, score 1 goal, waste a major goal scoring opportunity, which led to them losing the game, and then still have the same value as someone who single-handedly, or not single-handedly, but basically won them the game, scored a freaking super goal with the 2-gun volley, and then scored again by imitating someone else's movements perfectly and outplaying everybody on the field, outplaying Loki, and doing some crazy shit for the entire game just to get this win, just to be #1, and still not being number one. And just so people don't come to me in the comments, I'm not some salty PXG fanboy. I know earlier before this game started, I thought PXG would win the game, but over time, I kind of realized that, okay, you know what, it is what it is. But I'm not a salty PXG fanboy. In fact, PSG is probably like one of my least favorite teams in the NEL, probably beside Barca. Like, yeah, they're a cool team with Rin, but I don't really mess with Shido like that. Charles is okay, and the rest of the characters on there, it's like, okay, we have Karasu, who was decent for the entirety of bluelock, Tokimitsu, and all these other people. Blah, blah, blah. I'm getting off track. What I'm trying to say is that I'm not being biased here because I wanted PXG to win. If anything, I think Bastard winning should have happened and Isagi should have been number one. That's the reason I'm really cheesed. I think if Isagi's going to win this game, he deserves to be the number one spot. Rin deserves to be dethroned from number one to number two. Because then the whole weight of this battle is kind of diminished because the whole weight of this battle was for the battle of number one. We're here to decide who's going to be number one. But then when you bring it back and you're like, okay, you know what? They're both going to be number one. It's kind of like this battle really didn't have that much weight behind it. All the buildup of both these characters' desires and everything like that, just for them both to win the prize, it kind of feels a little underwhelming in my opinion. Nonetheless, I still think Rin and Isagi are both amazing players, and undoubtedly both of them are top two on different people's lists. But yeah, I really do think that Rin right here has robbed Yoichi Isagi. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. What do you think of my take? What do you guys think of my analysis? Please remember to hit that like and subscribe if you guys like this video. And yeah, man, I hope you guys all have a great day or night wherever you're at. Goodbye.